This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
And I thought, by the way, I thought the list was pretty thorough. And overall, when you start talking about maybe one or two of your favorite players from that list, from the obvious ones to the maybe under the radar guys, like an Ogbah was, who were they for you in that list?
Yeah, well, you kind of put me on the spot Monday, and I told you I would do my homework and come up with a list, and then I figured let me put it in a story. You know what the big takeaway for me was in researching it, both in the draft and in free agency.
Deep.
Exactly. Like it's really easy to say, well, no, we don't want to give Ogbah too much money and all that. Well, great, go ahead and replace him, because especially with the draft. If you look, there's a lot of really good edge defenders, but guess what? They're all going to be gone by 29. Obviously, Hutchinson, Thibodeau, Trayvon Walker, Karlaftis, Jermaine Johnson. Those are really like Jermaine Johnson to me is like the Tasmanian devil, but guess what? Ain't going to be there at 29. So right. you get to 29, and then once those guys are gone, and to me, it was like a whole lot of stretches. Like my list had like Logan Hall from Houston, who's like kind of a semi-project because he played inside at Houston, but his body is like he's perfect. He's a perfect fit for a 3-4D end. And it's one of those guys who's got upside and probably not going to make a huge impact early on. And once you get past the first 5 or 6 of those edge rusher or edge defender prospects, the likelihood of them being able to make an impact right away diminishes. And Dolphins are operating as in that they're not rebuilding. They're not like,
no, they shouldn't be rebuilding. There's no rebuild here.
I agree.
This is a retool of the offense and win a couple of more games than what you've won in the last 2 years. That's what they're doing.
And maintain on defense. And you're not maintaining on defense with logically, if you replace Ogbah with a guy you get at 29th overall in the draft. I don't believe so. And then the free agency list, a big name. I mean, Chandler Jones is like a brilliant pass rusher. Jadeveon Clowney, wow. Clowney, the thing with Clowney is not going to be – well, he had 9 sacks last year. And, dude, he's very good against the run. He is very good.
Yeah, I get that, but he's not the pressure guy that you really need. And the 9 sacks is like a career high for him, and that's because
he had another season where he had a good sack total. Again,
he needs a contract. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
But look at the list.
The next name is the one that intrigues me. Go ahead. That's the one.
Randy Gregory?
Boom. That's the one, because that's the guy that was an idiot that has maybe figured out to stop being an idiot. And then you watch the last couple of years and he's actually turning into the player that he could be. And maybe the best is ahead for Randy Gregory.
Correct.
Since he's been able to stay away from trouble, I would take a chance on that guy. And he can't ask for the world because he has the baggage.
Correct. But the buzz out of Dallas is they're going to make a play on him, even if it winds up potentially costing him DeMarcus Lawrence. And now we get into a whole different conversation where he would become, to me, ideal choice. But
he has to ask for less money because he has had 2 Ogbah outplayed him badly the last 2 years, by the way.
Well, he's had some injury issues. But
I'm just saying production-wise.
No,
Ogbah is the better player the last 2 years than DeMarcus. And I like DeMarcus, but you probably can get a little bit of a bargain there on that one because he's got to kind of reprove himself a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I'm not so sure. And even Randy Gregory, even though the upside is there, again, I'd rather have Ogbah than I'd rather have Randy Gregory. To me, I'm still baffled by the Dolphins, to be very honest. I'm baffled by the Dolphins not tagging Ogbah instead of Gesicki. I mean, we discuss the logic. If you're going to do Gesicki, that's fine. From that standpoint.
Yeah, but I think
17-8, dude. It's not the end of the world.
No, but I think the reasoning here's. Stay with me on this.
Go ahead.
The reasoning is, okay, we'll try to negotiate a contract to take that tag off of Gesicki by the deadline. If we can't, okay, the tag is not crippling. But on the defensive end tag, if we don't come to a contract, then that money could be crippling because it will limit what we can do in free agency because we have to anticipate that space. And as you know, that's a hard space. There's no way of moving it. So if the number's 19 or whatever the hell it is for a defensive, how much?
17-8.
17-8. So that 17-8 is locked in. So 17-8 of your cap is already used up. So I think they don't want to risk that if they don't come up with a deal, then they're stuck with it, that 17-8, and they can't be flexible with it. Whereas, as you know, that if they can then agree to a deal, he'll probably count like $5 million the first year against the cap because they'll lower it down or something like that. And so I think that's the only reason why they're not doing it, because they fear that if they don't get the deal that they want with Cantor, then they're stuck with that contract on a hard line number. That's why.
For who? For Ogbah?
Yeah. And then it limits their
Drew's
flexibility.
Agent, not Cantor. Drew's his agent, not Cantor.
Oh, Drew's agent. I'm sorry, Drew.
Correct. But then when you're playing a dangerous game, because now you risk losing him. And to me, again,
you're right.
As I've said before, he is way, way more important to the 2022 success of the Dolphins than Mike Gesicki. And again, we've talked about along about how much cap space the Dolphins have. Well, you can sacrifice $6 million. To me, it's not the end of the world. And I think I didn't like the move. I mean, I still
now here's the other thing. Now let me add another caveat that you and I don't know. What conversation did Chris Grier have the last week in the combine with some agent about one of these free agents? And who knows if they kind of met in the middle already on something. And when free agency starts, you'll see them replace Ogbah right away with whatever plan they had in place. You know what I mean? So that might be the other thing too. It's kind of a catch-22. It's Drew Rosenhaus going that week going, oh, okay, I got a lot of business for Ogbah. Yeah, Miami, yeah, we want this. Oh, that's a little high. Right. But Drew knows he has that money out there somewhere, so that's why he's asking you for it. And on the flip side, Chris Grier and company probably have a plan already. Like, okay, well, we're not going to give him a tag because we like this guy and we're going to get him for less money. And we think we're going to get pretty damn good production from it. So there's got to be, in other words, there's got to be a method behind the madness.
One would hope, but it's always, I mean, these negotiations very often come down to a game of chicken. It's like, yeah, go ahead, test your value. And then Dolphins thinking maybe, guess what? You're going to come to a sad realization that you're not getting what you think you're going to get in the free agent market, and then come back to us and we'll talk again, and maybe they'll get him at a number they like as opposed to what Drew's asking right now. Again, to me, maybe I'm overly cautious.
Nobody can argue your stance, dude. Everything you're saying makes sense. Yeah. It's just a matter, like you said, it's just a matter of, you would hope that they must have something in place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They weren't supposed to technically negotiate. Remember, the illegal tampering period is Monday. Oops.
Tampering period. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, tampering.
Yeah, sure.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.